All right, let's jump right in. You're in that tough spot, right? Your team desperately needs a new system, a pretty big investment, and now you have to convince the board it's not just another expense, but a genuinely smart financial move. Over the next few minutes, we're going to give you a clear, practical guide to do exactly that.
So here's our game plan. We'll start with that high-pressure question every CFO has to answer. Then, we'll break down the simple math to get you that answer. After that, we're going to show you exactly where the hidden money is in your business. We'll look at some real Sri Lankan case studies, point out the common traps you need to avoid, and finally, get you ready to make your own case.
You know this situation. The operations team is telling you they can't grow, they can't scale without a new ERP system. But the board, they just see a massive number on a spreadsheet. Your job is to be the bridge between those two worlds, and you do that with cold, hard numbers. This is it. This is the question that can kill a great project before it even starts. See, the board isn't looking for a vague promise of better efficiency. They want to know two very specific things. What is the return on investment, the ROI, and, maybe even more importantly, when do we break even? When do we get our money back?
So how do we actually answer them? Well, the good news is you don't need a PhD in finance. The answers the board is looking for come from two, and I mean this, surprisingly simple formulas that anyone can use to build an absolutely rock-solid business case. First up is return on investment, or ROI. It's nothing more than a simple percentage. It just tells you how much money you made for every single rupee you spent. A high ROI, well, that just means your investment was incredibly efficient and profitable. Simple as that.
And the formula itself is very straightforward. You just take the total gain you got from the investment, subtract what it cost you, then divide that number by the original cost and multiply by 100 to get your percentage. That's it. That's the number your board wants to see.
Okay, now for the second metric. And for a lot of business owners, this one is even more important. The payback period. This isn't a percentage, it's about time. It answers that gut-level question, how long until we get our cash back?
And believe it or not, the math is even easier. You literally just take the total cost of the investment and divide it by the money you're going to save every year. The answer is the number of years it takes to break even. It really is that straightforward.
Okay, so the formulas are simple, right? The really crucial part is, where do you get these gain from investment or annual savings numbers? These aren't just things you make up, they're real, and they are hiding in plain sight in your daily operations, mostly in two key areas. Now, this might actually surprise you. The single biggest source of savings is often the one we just write off as a cost of doing business. What am I talking about? I'm talking about mistakes. For a typical Sri Lankan SME, just fixing operational errors can save over 7.6 million rupees a year.
Let's actually break that number down. You know, a wrong shipment here, a duplicate payment there, they feel small in the moment. But look at this. Sending just 8 wrong shipments a month can cost you nearly 2.4 million rupees a year. Stockouts, just from bad inventory tracking, that's over 4 million. These little leaks really do sink big ships.
The second huge source of savings? It's time. Just think about all the hours your team spends every single week on manual data entry, trying to reconcile different spreadsheets, building reports from scratch. A proper system automates all of that, saving over 115 hours a month. That translates to more than 2 million rupees a year in labor costs you get back.
Okay, so that's the theory. But does this actually play out in the real world? Let's take a look at 3 Sri Lankan businesses that used this exact same logic. And they didn't just save money, they built a real, lasting competitive advantage.
Our first story is about an apparel manufacturer in Katanayake. They were constantly battling material shortages, and it was seriously capping their growth. After they put in an ERP, those shortages just plummeted by 88%. That saved them 3.6 million rupees a year and gave them the breathing room and capacity to land 2 huge new clients.
And here are the numbers, the kind of numbers that make a board pay attention. They invested 5.2 million rupees. With their savings and new growth, they paid that back in just 14 months. And their return on investment after a year and a half, an absolutely incredible 199%.
But listen to this. This is what the CEO said. Their biggest regret wasn't spending the money on the system, it was the cost of waiting. They figured out they lost over 15 million rupees by delaying the decision for just 2 years. That's the real hidden cost of inefficiency.
Next up, let's look at a pharmaceutical distributor in Negombo. Their 2 biggest headaches were products expiring on the shelves and running out of stock of critical medicines. The new system came in and slashed that expiry waste by 85% and stockouts by a massive 92%.
But check out the owner's perspective here, because it adds this crucial strategic layer. On paper, the payback was 18 months, but he said the real ROI was 8 months. Why? Because the system gave them the control they needed to open a fourth warehouse, something that was just impossible before. The ROI wasn't just about saving money, it was about unlocking growth.
And for our final example, a construction company from Gali. Now, in a project-based business like theirs, tracking time and costs is everything. They were just bleeding billable hours and surviving on thin 18% margins. The system helped them capture all those lost hours and push their average project margin up to a much healthier 27%.
And the result here? I mean, this is just an astonishingly fast return. The CEO confirmed it. The system paid for itself in just 3.5 months. For a business trying to juggle complex projects, this kind of control wasn't just a nice to have, it was a total game changer.
Okay, so you're probably fired up, ready to build your own business case. The math is simple, the potential is huge. But wait, before you start crunching numbers, let's slow down for a second and cover 4 common traps that can make your calculations not just wrong, but dangerous. Getting this part right is all about building credibility.
First, and this is a big one, never ever use the ROI numbers a vendor gives you. Look, they're selling something, so their numbers are always going to be a best-case fantasy. Do your own homework. Second, don't forget the hidden soft costs. It's not just about the training hours. It's the productivity dip while everyone learns the new system. It's management time. It's migrating all your old data. Here's a good rule of thumb. Add a 20% contingency to your total cost to cover these things. Third, be conservative with your savings estimates. It's so tempting to show the most optimistic numbers possible, but trust me, it is far better to underpromise and overdeliver. This builds huge trust with your board. A good way to do this is to calculate your ideal savings, then present a number that's maybe 15 to 20% lower. And finally, don't just stop once the system is live. You have to track your actual results against what you projected. This holds everyone accountable, and it proves the investment was worth it, which makes getting your next big request approved so much easier.
And that really brings us to the final, most important point. Building a business case for a huge investment like this, it's not about magic, it's not about wishful thinking, it's a strategic business exercise. It's about using simple, powerful tools to measure the real, tangible impact on your bottom line and ultimately on your company's future.
So, I'll leave you with this question. Now that you have the framework, now that you've seen the potential, where are the millions in savings, efficiency, and new growth opportunities hiding inside your own business, just waiting for you to find them?